Welcome to Graceful Aging. I'm Gregory Bader, your host. On today's show, we're going to help you as a family member or a friend who wants to help someone else who might have an addiction. How do you approach them? What are the right things to say? What are the right things to do? We have Tish Vincent, who is a program administrator for a program at the State Bar of Michigan. She's also a clinical social worker and an attorney herself who spent years dealing with these nettlesome issues. In the second part of the show, you, as an addicted person who may have an addiction, how do you get out of that rut? She'll show you how to make yourself more teachable, more approachable, so that you can return to a good quality of life. Please join us on a very important show today of Graceful Aging. I'm so happy you're with us. Well, I'm so happy you're joining us today on Graceful Aging. We are honored and pleased to have a clinical social worker, an attorney, a person who's in charge of the State Bar of Michigan's program to help professionals with problems that they might have. Tish Vincent, thanks for being a guest today on Graceful Aging.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
You know, the addiction comes in all shapes and colors and sizes, and give me a sampling of what type of addictions you deal with in the phone calls that you have.
Yes, there is a wide range of possibilities to be addicted. We basically think of two major categories: addictions to chemicals and addictions to processes.
What would be a process?
A process addiction would be an addiction to gambling, an addiction to certain forms of dysfunctional sexual acting out, an addiction to eating, to overeating. So it's a process that is a normal process in life, something to handling money or sex or food, but the person becomes addicted to an unhealthy way of using it.
And I frequently will turn on National Public Radio, and I heard on the Diane Reams show, she did an entire show on internet pornography recently, and that was an eye-opener in many ways.
Yes, it is an eye-opener and a growing problem. It's just exploding because of the availability of the internet and the chance to make money on the part of people who put the internet pornography out there. So a person who has a process addiction to pornography and a computer can get in very big trouble very, very quickly.
Now, these problems, these addiction problems, are they medical? Are they social? Are they genetic? What causes them? Is there a cause?
Yes, we subscribe to the public health model of addiction as an illness process. That is, there has to be some genetic predisposition or the person would not develop the addiction, so it's medical, biological. Then they have to be in an environment that encourages the use of addiction or the escape from emotional experience into an addictive process. Then the process, let's say it's a chemical, certain chemicals are highly addictive, others are less so. Cocaine is highly addictive very quickly. So if a person has a genetic predisposition, they get in an environment that encourages use and then they use a highly addictive chemical, they're off and running. But it's all three factors have to come together in kind of a perfect storm for the addiction to get established in a person's life and start to cause troubles.
Mm-hmm. You know, in this first part of the show, what I really would like to do now is, family and friends, when they see someone in trouble, want to help. Mm-hmm. But they don't always help effectively, do they?
No, they don't always help effectively, even though they're motivated to, and they're almost desperate to help because they see the unmanageability of the addiction, they see the troubles that are being caused. So the person that's addicted is kind of blind to that. They're in denial about it and they're not seeing it. Then people who love them or who are working closely with them can see that chaos is growing. So they come and they make a rational approach to the person.
A rational or an irrational?
A rational approach.
Okay.
They're making a rational approach to an irrational person. And if the addicted person were rational, their efforts to help would help, but they're not rational. They're in the throes of a process that keeps them only wanting to go back to the addiction, to use whatever chemical it is, to go and practice whatever process it is. So they get angry and frustrated with anybody who approaches them and tells them it's a problem.
Well, someone trying to help, I see and hear stories of people, well, just do this, or, why are you doing this? And the search for the why answer, the cause for it, is that an effective technique for people, and do they fall into that?
With addictions, the search for the why is not an effective technique. Frequently, the why doesn't show up. Once we have people in treatment, the why won't show up for quite some time. The behavior itself has become a problem, and it is strongly reinforced by the effect in the brain of the person who has the addiction. So they can't really look at why. If they could understand why, they would already have quit. That's what I tell family members.
Makes sense.
Yes. And so really what's needed is to get them in the hands of a professional that knows how to help them stop and can hold them accountable for stopping, and then we'll continue to work with them over time. And over that time, then you'll start to see the why, but you haven't gone looking for it. Mm-hmm. You have to change the behavior, and then the insight shows up.
What are some things that people trying to help say that really don't help?
I think what doesn't help is laundry listing all the problems to the person. You've done this, this is going wrong, that's going wrong.
So that's not effective.
That's not effective. I have tailored over my years in practice. I've been an addictions therapist for 21 years, a mental health therapist for 28 years, and an attorney for 6 years. I've crafted something over that time that I'm willing to share with the listening audience. I ask the person approaching someone to gather a group of people, not a huge group. It can be 1 or 2 people that care about the addicted person, and to talk about it in these terms. First of all, you say, I'm concerned about you. I'm concerned about you that you may be developing an addiction to alcohol. And then you say what you're worried about. You drink. Every weekend you drink until you're drunk. You're not getting into work on Monday, and your employer is starting to call, and I'm concerned that pattern is the pattern of somebody who's addicted. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's not the pattern of somebody that is addicted.
So you're softening it up a
I'm
little
softening it, and I'm making it so that the person can't come back as much in opposition. And I'm softening it with, maybe you're wrong, and would you just do us the favor of talking to this professional about it and see what they think? And what they're going to say is, no, I'm not addicted, I don't have a problem. And you can say, well, maybe you don't, but I am concerned because of these behaviors, and I'm asking you for me. Would you just talk to this person? And maybe you'll talk to them and they'll come back and tell me, no, Tish, you're wrong. There's nothing wrong. Mm-hmm. That's unlikely, but I find that approach is the most helpful one.
So it sounds like you're taking ownership, as the person trying to help. You're taking ownership of your own concern and uncertainty.
Yes.
And asking for help from the potentially addicted person to resolve that uncertainty for you. That's
exactly.
Clever.
It is clever, and I found it to be quite effective. I learned parts of it from various people that I've trained with. And you want to have identified somebody for them to talk to, or a few people that they could go and talk to before you do it.
So how do you select those? I understand a professional. How do you select, say, whether it's the spouse or a partner or the oldest child? Is there some magic or clues in that? Not
exactly magic, just a little puzzle. You look at who's worried about it, who sees it clearly and can be in that conversation and stay calm. So frequently at the Lawyers and Judges Assistance Program, it will be a spouse, or it will be a spouse and the managing partner of a firm, or it will be a judge who's seeing the attorney come into court and is worried that they're not able to represent their clients because of the behavior. It has to be somebody close, and it has to be somebody that's honestly concerned, not somebody mad at them.
So it would be ineffective then, I would imagine, to have the whole group of people, the entire family, the entire firm.
Yes, it would be, unless you had an interventionist come and stage the intervention.
What's an interventionist?
An interventionist is a therapist that's trained in just in intervention. They're trained to come in. it's an intervention.
Like an more extreme approach?
It's more extreme. You'll see it on television. You'll see it depicted on television programs. I think they depicted it on The Sopranos, if people remember that show and watched it. An interventionist stages a meeting, a group confrontation. It's a group. My mind is blanking on the actual word, but
it's kind of a whole orchestrated approach.
A whole orchestrated approach, and they're trained to work with each person that's going to be in the intervention, and then the person with the addiction comes into the room, and everyone makes a statement to them that's similar to the one that I described to you. They're concerned and what the effect the addiction is having on them. Mm-hmm. And we do have some of the leading interventionists here in the Brighton area. In the country, they train other people to do the intervention. So in Michigan, we have that resource.
Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that if someone is watching from a different part of the country, they could access that as well.
Yes, they could access that as well, or get a referral from this area for mm-hmm. where, the area that they live in.
How long does it take, if someone's in the house and someone has a suspected issue, how long do you find it usually takes the family to get to a point where they try to do something?
Oh, I wouldn't know in terms of years, but it takes a while. The family usually tries to explain the behavior along more acceptable lines. He's stressed, he's too busy. They try to find reasonable explanations for why the behavior is not what it should be. They're in a form of denial themselves, and then they'll usually try to save the person. They'll try to intervene and do things that will make it more likely the person will stop, hoping it will work, and it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So I think it's years before they show up looking for help.
So people who have tried unsuccessfully and maybe have resorted to their own denial or covering up, how do they get out of that kind of helper's trap?
Okay, and that's a harder trap even to get out of, I think, than the addiction. We recommend from the Lawyers and Judges Assistance Program that addicted people attend 12-step groups. That would be Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous. There are other kind of helping groups like Smart Recovery, but the 12-step groups have the best track record. And we recommend that friends and family get involved in Al-Anon, which is a 12-step group for people whose family members are struggling with an addiction. If they will take that recommendation and go to Al-Anon, then they will learn that they have to start focusing on themselves. They have to kind of pull themselves back from worry about the addicted person. Detach, we call it. They have to detach and think about what they need and refocus on their own health, because usually they have lost focus on their own health and their own emotional health is starting to deteriorate, and the person is continuing to use. So say if there's children involved, it's a spouse, two spouses, one spouse is using, the other spouse is trying to get them to stop. Mm-hmm. Over time, nobody's putting the children first like parents should, because they're both taken up with the addictive behavior. But that pulling back and realizing you can't necessarily do anything is very, very hard for people. It's somebody you love. It's somebody you work with. So they need some group support. They can also go for therapy, but we like to send them for therapy to someone that understands addictions, because some therapists don't.
So if I was a friend to that family wanting to help, I could maybe parrot the approach or follow the approach that you just provided and give that as a present to that family.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you don't have to be trapped as a helper.
No.
And you can have clever approaches that work.
That work, yes. They have the best chance of working. Mm-hmm. That's how I put it. They have the best chance of working. And to get the word out that this is a human problem, it happens in many families. It happens in all socioeconomic levels. It's a human problem. It's like getting the flu. It's an illness, and there's help for it. You don't have to suffer it alone or be embarrassed because it's happening in your family.
These are good words of advice, and we'll take a short break so that people can kind of soak that in, and we'll come back in just a minute, and we'll talk with Tish Vincent about how, if you have an addictive problem yourself, how you might grab the rings of support and pull yourself out of it. So stay with us. A lot more is coming. Selecting a residential care facility is tough sometimes. One factor that you want to measure is Does the facility possess a capable leader? Finding an appropriate facility for a loved one is a daunting task. The pressures of the moment and the demands of your ordinary life impact the quality of your search. The manager is critical to a successful residential setting. Every facility search should include a careful assessment of this person. The manager manages all aspects of the facility. This person should have a command of every facet of the building and its operations. The manager goes by different names. Sometimes it's home manager, executive director, or facility director. Those are common names. Always determine who has the chief responsibility over anything that may happen in that facility. I want to place my loved one in a facility where the manager takes ownership of every aspect of a residential home. A strong manager knows every aspect of the people, the plant, the policies, and practices, and also understands the purpose and importance of those items. A great manager has pride and passion for the profession of caregiving. Staffing a facility is critical. Caregiving is a demanding job requiring special qualities. Staffing consumes the largest part of your monthly charge. Staff interaction with your loved one is the key to your mom or dad's safety, health, and dignity. A manager's strength is reflected in each caregiver. I want a manager who demands excellence from every employee all the time, and you should too. That's been a Graceful Aging Moment. Thanks for coming back with us on Graceful Aging. We're honored to have Tish Vincent, who is a clinical social worker and has all types of experience to help you if you have a problem yourself. And that's what we're going to talk about in this next segment, Tish. A person who they know it, or they fear it, or maybe they think, that they have an addiction. I guess maybe that's the first question. How does an individual know themselves that they have an addiction problem and they're not just living the good life or whatever it might be?
Okay, that is a good question and a difficult question to answer. I find that people tend to not recognize on their own that they have an addiction. And I worked inpatient addictions unit for 4 years, and we knew that there were 3 avenues people would come into treatment along, and that was a legal problem, a work problem, or a social problem.
So they got arrested for drunk driving, or they're fired or threatened with firing,
or their wife left, their husband left and said, I can't take it anymore, or I'm leaving, I can't take it unless you get some help. The denial is part of the disease of addiction, and the denial tells you, I'm fine, and my wife is just unreasonable, my employer expects too much, and the police don't like my car. I mean, it really is a distorted pattern of thinking that makes it very difficult for people to admit to themselves that they need help.
Well, I'll get to help when I need it. And, I've watched all these movies and TV shows, and I'm not at rock bottom. And when I get to rock bottom, then I'll maybe go into your office and seek help.
Right.
Is that common?
That's common. That's common. You describe it perfectly. And intervening in that thinking is like trying to intervene in a schizophrenic's delusions. It's delusional thinking, really. It's not reality-based, but the addiction itself is creating that change in your brain so that you're not listening. That's why we talk about hitting rock bottom. Frequently, addicted people have to hit rock bottom before they admit they have a problem, and then they come into treatment.
I wonder, does an individual, is it a precondition? Do they have to hit rock bottom before they start a treatment program?
We would wish that it wasn't, but frequently it is. They have to hit, if not rock bottom, some kind of painful experience before they will intervene in the denial.
In their own denial.
And the monitoring program, the Lawyers and Judges Assistance Program, we talk about trying to raise the bottom so that rock bottom isn't as low. So
you don't have to lose your lawyer's license or be thrown in jail.
Right,
okay.
Right. That you get diverted into a treatment program and you're told you can do this treatment and then you won't lose your license. So, excuse me.
Well, if I have an addiction problem myself and I hear I hear threats from my spouse to leave, or I have too many unusual police stops, or my employer starts saying these funny things. Should those be bells and whistles?
They should be, yeah. They should
that
be.
I should act on instead of avoiding.
You should act on them. You should call, if you're an attorney, you can call the Lawyers Assistance Program. There's one in every state. You can call and you will get a referral to somebody that you can go in and speak to in a private setting, and they will help you figure it out.
And if I'm not a professional like that, I would imagine, could I call like an Alcoholics Anonymous group in the area and say, people are saying this stuff. What do you think? What do you think?
You can call Central AA. There's a Central AA in every community across the nation. And if you're in a rural area, if you call Central AA in the nearest city, they will put you in touch with someone in your community that will talk to you. You can also call your local hospital. The emergency rooms know where the treatment centers are. The treatment centers know who the outpatient therapists are. So you can call Central AA, you can call a hospital, you can call a treatment center, and they will put you in touch with someone who has the skills and the knowledge to sit down with you like we're sitting here right now and find you help.
You know, but then I'm hearing this as an addicted person, though I'm not, but maybe I am. But I'm hearing this, I'm thinking, oh, well, now I'm going to be in a 18-week program. Everybody's going to know.
Yeah.
Why would I want to do that? I'll get this resolved myself.
That's what you'll think, because you think that you can keep it private, you can keep it to yourself, and you can change it. But the research and the patterns show that that's not true. That's a way that you hide and keep using.
Mm-hmm. So it's another form of my own denial if I
Yeah.
step into that.
Denial and what we call as addictions therapists the illusion of control. You have the illusion that you can take care of it, you'll quit tomorrow, this is the last day you'll do this, and you're in control of it.
You know, coming back to the first segment, I'm a family member trying to help, and my loved one that I'm concerned about has made maybe that first step of talking about maybe going to seek help. What does a good helper family person say to encourage the behavior? You know, right there at the precipice.
Where you mean the addicted person says, I think this is a problem.
Yeah.
I'm going to get some help.
Mm-hmm.
What should the family member say?
Right.
I think the family member should say, would you like any help identifying who you could talk to? And if they say yes, then help them. If they say no, just ask again in a few days, did you find someone? Don't interfere, don't try to make the decisions, just show support for the fact that the person's ready to talk to somebody. Mm-hmm. And don't get too excited about it, be kind of low-key, because if you get too excited, they might oppose you. You're hopeful, and you as the family member would be wise to seek help yourself too. So you don't want the person who's addicted to feel like they have to do it for you.
Okay. So now back to the person who's got the addiction problem, and they've made the first couple of steps and they've made the phone call. Do they have to have a right frame of mind to be receptive to therapy? Do they have to make themselves teachable?
Well, they have to eventually make themselves teachable, though in my years of experience with addicted people, when they come in, they're not too teachable at first. They're mad, they're frustrated with what brought them in, they're still in denial. It takes them a while to arrive and to start to calm down and become teachable.
Do they lash back at whoever gave
Yes.
them those words of encouragement before?
They do. They might do that actively or passively. They might come in to prove those people wrong. They're angry that they feel criticized or insulted or like they've been judged, and in a way they have. But what I say when I'm working with a person, there's a part of the person who's addicted that wants to be healthy and wants to stop using, and there's a part of the person that just wants to keep using. And the person who's addicted is in a tug of war between those two sides. So the part of them that wants to be healthy wants to say to their wife or their husband, okay, I'll go get help. And the part of them that wants to use says, what are you listening to them for? You know, don't. You're going to ruin the chance to use again in the future. As addictions therapists, we have to become aware of those two sides, and we have to talk to both of those two sides. The healthy side's probably relieved that they're in the office. The side that wants to use is mad. So working with people, you feel you have to be ready for either side to show up at any minute. It seems like you're working with somebody mentally ill at first. As they learn that they have a side that's sabotaging their recovery, then they become more teachable.
Mm-hmm. So I would say, looking at the individual, then they have to recognize that they have these kind of two personalities, or two, like little movie caricatures
Right.
that are talking in their head.
Exactly, or like you see in movies, sometimes a little devil and a little angel on their shoulder, giving them advice. But yeah, they're reacting to their life two different ways all the time. People who are not trained addictions therapists frequently will make a mistake either of only believing the healthy side or only being angry at the using side.
So is part of therapy then literally giving the individual the script and the language and the words to use to that other little character who's opposing, and
Yes.
the words of encouragement to the person who's identifying?
Wants to be healthy, and to encourage them to be in community with other people who want to be healthy. That's why recovery groups are important with addictions, because the person sits down in a room full of people, all who have the same type of a problem, and it's as if the healthy side of them kind of holds hands and helps them get through the side that wants to use.
Mm-hmm. It's fascinating as far as what goes on in our brains, in our bodies,
Yes.
and the keys are all right there if we can only learn the right key to use at the right time.
Exactly, that's well said, exactly.
The other roadblocks that come up, I would imagine there's a lot of them. I mean, we've got the whole commercialization of the pornography industry, of the liquor industry, of the medication issues. How do you deal with those outside world forces if you have an addiction? I guess that I'm trying to get the whole addiction therapy in one little answer. But
you make an excellent point. There are a lot of forces in our culture mitigating against a person getting healthy. And let's say for attorneys, drinking is a big part of socializing for attorneys. When going out to dinner, going to a conference, it's in the fabric of socializing for attorneys. So if you have an addicted attorney, they have to withstand that pressure to have a drink. It's okay, have a highball, have a glass of wine. Everybody's doing it. What's wrong with you? Are you sick? There's pressure. There's social pressure to give in to a substance that's actually dangerous to an addicted person. Certain of the 12-step groups or treatment centers will talk about a safe circle of behavior. An addicted person has to have a clear understanding of what they can do and what they must not do for their own well-being. An alcoholic entering a social gathering where alcohol is being served has to know what he's going to get to drink and be sure he only drinks that. He has to know his own body, his own needs, and not deviate from it because there's social pressure to deviate from it.
Those are good words and good advice. It does sound like a whole teamwork of the little people inside your own head and your extended family and friends as well.
Right, and recovering communities too, people who are recovering from the same addiction. So if you're alone in a hotel room traveling and you have a problem with an addiction to pornography on the computer, then you think of the group from your Sexual Addicts Anonymous group, and you think of those people and you think, I can't let them down. They know that this would be difficult for me. I might call them, but I'm not going to give in to that addiction.
Thank you so much, Tish
Yes.
Vincent. You've helped, I know, so many people out. Thanks for being a guest today.
Thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed being able to get some of this information out.
So there's hope for all of us as helpers, as addicted people. We have struggles with life. I hope you find the keys to your own happiness outside of an addiction problem. But if you have one, there's help, as Tish Vincent says. Thanks for being with us today on Graceful Aging. We'll see you next time.